We have a little bit of change up in the lineup today. StrifeCro will actually be playing next against Neirea. I am really excited to see this match. Being a huge mage player myself, StrifeCro is kind of a little bit of a legend to me, especially with that mech mage he brought out. It's gotten me down ladder pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, mage is his favorite class. We've seen him play a lot of different kinds of mages in the past. And something that I actually saw on his stream earlier this week was, he played Mech Mage, of course, in the Kingwin tournament. He was playing like a duplicate kind of
That's what I was watching too as well,
mage, where he's got like sludge belchers and unstable ghouls, and he's playing Savanas.
Water Ellies and stuff.
Just a bunch of value
playing
stuff.
like a Giants.
And then just trying to really just grind your opponent out of the game. And I'm like, of course, this is a very StrifeCro thing to do.
Yeah.
Where, pinging for one every turn for the victory is a very fun route to victory, but it's something that he has made work over and over again when you look at any of his strategies. It's just very small amounts of value adding up to, when you maximize them, a pretty big deal at the end of the day.
Well, I think like one of the things, because everyone is so like focused on this Mech Mage that he did, crush that tournament with the Kingwin tournament. One of the things that he can kind of use a little bit to his advantage is the fact that maybe people are going to be trying to like actually kind of blind counter that, things like that. And if he does come out with a different variation, can kind of throw things, throw a little wrench in the gears, I guess.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into this game with StrifeCro versus Neirea.
Oh, this is going to be, a very different version. And he does have Kel'Thuzad in there, which is pretty interesting to me. So I'm excited to see what he has in store for him. I could see some shenanigans with explosive sheeps and Kel'Thuzad and stuff.
Yeah, this is sort of that grind him out mage that he's
definitely
been playing, where like a Noyatron
was
getting resurrected by Kel'Thuzad a lot of times. And I was like, that is a really frustrating spot to be in, is when you just cannot kill an Noyatron.
Unstable Ghoul is even in there. So pretty interesting deck, and we are going to see a pretty slow hand here from the Druid.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about StrifeCro, but Neirea is certainly a guy that you should be looking out for. He's put up some fantastic performances at DreamHack. He actually got eliminated by the eventual champion Colento while he was there. And again, he was the number 2 seed in EU going into the BlizzCon qualifiers. And this guy plays fantastic game. And his decks are always on point. He understands his strategies really well. He's just an all-around extremely solid player.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, his hand has really not been too great though here so far.
Yeah,
so
this is
kind of an understatement of the century right now. I mean, it's like
no. You always want 3 7-cost cards and a 5-cost card on turn.
And your Harrison Jones.
Yeah,
of course.
and
Harrison Jones, one of the key cards against me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, and it's looking like it could just be the Water Ellie coming out here, which I like a lot. I mean, Water Ellie is such a frustrating card to be dealing with. It's like it's so high in HP, can deny the hero power, and it's just really, really annoying, to be honest.
Finally picks up a card he can play.
Yeah.
Harrison Jones anyway, though.
Which isn't bad because the mage doesn't have a weapon anyways.
Right.
And he's mousing over the sheep shortly there, just thinking about whether or not he wants to go for tempo. I kind of would just rather see Frostbolt ping. But, I mean, do you think there's any chance that he trades in? I feel like Frostbolt ping is obvious.
Yeah, I think at this point he's obviously recognizes his opponent's going to be extremely slow start. So he's perfectly comfortable just getting repetitive damage out of this Mad Scientist. This Mad Scientist now has no longer been a 2-mana card that pulls a trap out of your deck and deals 2 damage to a minion. Now it's going to have dealt at least 4 damage. If that trend continues, it's 6 damage, 8 damage, and so on and so forth. I think that's the value that StrifeCro is going to hunt for in every single one of his games. It's what makes him such a tough opponent, is that he's always trying to get the most out of every situation.
Now, I mean, looking at this turn here, you can obviously draw the Belcher, you can start trading in, things like that. But do you think it's worth, knowing that your opponent has had that slow of a start? Do you think about the poly here and just continuing the aggression? I mean, knowing that Dr. Doom is probably going to come out next turn, it might not turn out the best. But looking at it from StrifeCro's point of view, it seems like a relatively legitimate play. Dropping your Sludge Belcher and trading is also pretty solid as well.
Yeah, I think Mad Scientist is getting traded in here again. He's gotten his value out of it. There's no reason for him to go forward. Like, he's very careful with his polymorphs in any of these matchups, and rightfully so. It's one of the few tools you have that can absolutely answer pretty much anything that's going to be out there.
I like this a lot more, and it's going to work out for him. It's probably Dr. Boom coming down. I mean, I don't really see why he would want to draw here. So yeah, it is going to be Dr. Boom. It's going to be able to be answered by the polymorph. This is one of the things that we talked about. Explosive sheep. Oh man, some fireworks to be going off here. This is one of the crazy things that we talked about. It's like, even though you have the sheep to answer that, there's still the bombs down on the table, which could do some work. And this is one of the things that makes it so difficult to deal with. So, I mean, seeing the board there, do are you risky enough to go for the explosive sheep clear to get rid of that taunt and then try to get through that way? I mean, do you think he has the balls?
It's just a tough position to be in because Polymorph, this is one of those situations where Polymorph is absolutely in here, but this is something StrifeCro does a lot, and frankly, it's a very good style for him. Is StrifeCro is not afraid to create board tension. And
with the bombs there too.
Yeah, and just really try to get a lot of favorable trades from his opponent. He navigates these waters with a clear head. It doesn't scare him to be in these sorts of situations. He kind of understands what's happening and what that means for himself. And when you're putting your opponent in these kind of uncomfortable situations, that's where you want to be as a player. You want your opponent to kind of be on the edge and not really know what's going to go forward. Duplicate is what he mentioned on that scientist too. So a lot of extra gas in StrifeCro's hand right now. This is looking pretty good for him, and he's still at 28. Neirea is just not going to be able to make the most fantastic of uses out of all these cards for quite some time.
And one of the nice things that did happen as well was he set up potential Flame Strike as well with the Frost Alley trading in.
Yeah.
I mean, denies that an easy trade there. The 4 going to the face kind of sucks. If that hit the Sylvanas, he would have actually stolen the Dr. Boom, but still. I mean, it has 2 Sludge Belters in hand. It's definitely looking pretty darn good.
I mean, look how much work that Sylvanas, both these cards have done to change the state of the game.
Yeah.
Dr. Boom forced StrifeCro into a position where it was really uncomfortable. He chose to create board tension from it. Sylvanas has done that exact same thing now back to Neirea. He's had to forego development for a turn in hopes that he can get Dr. Boom to run into this Sylvanas so that StrifeCro doesn't get so much value from it that he's going to be able to absolutely snowball the game out of his control, despite the fact that he's already gotten so much value as it is.
Mm-hmm. And the Bomb Lob, like I said, would have been actually so big if he actually just stole the Dr. Boom with the different Bomb Lob, but I don't know if he wants to trade it in. I mean, he's definitely thinking through his options here, and I kind of like just dropping another Sludge Belcher and just going phase.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to trade it in because again, this is just raining terror on Neirea's side of the board.
Yeah,
how does he adequately respond to this position without losing too much?
Especially because he has the Sludge Belcher to protect it. It's not like he can get the free 1-for-1 trade. He has to develop his board further, which can open it up, to that potential steal.
Neirea potentially give him a little bit more gas. I imagine he's going to draw some cards here because Keeper of the Grove needs to be found.
Yeah,
definitely. It's a really big turn. Just so much going in favor of StrifeCro right now.
Black Knight is pretty nice, but I mean, it's not going to get its value this turn.
Have the mana for it. Sylvanas still basically going to get a great deal no matter what. The reason he's playing this Shade here over playing this Chilligetti is he's actually hoping that when Sylvanas steals a minion, it steals something weaker. He doesn't want to give his opponent too much. But at this point, I don't really know if that's something you can prevent. Ice Block actually picked up for StrifeCro. Wow, that is something that is very unique to this deck.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, looking at this, with the Kel'Thuzad, I'm not actually sure how the interaction works. If you kill your Sylvanas, do you steal plus revive your Sylvanas as well?
Yeah, you'll get.
So I mean, this is an easy Kel'Thuzad.
Yeah, this is basically the closeout turn that you.
Yeah, this is insane. I mean, he can actually trade the Sylvanas into the Keeper, trade the 1/2 into the 7/1 if he wants to steal the Shade. I mean, and he's gonna have his Sylvanas back at full HP. He's gonna have
the 1/2 slime back.
The 1/2 slime back as well.
That is astonishing to me that he's choosing to take that.
Yeah, I actually can't believe that. That was actually such a perfect turn. He could have had a Sylvanas back, he could have stolen the Shade, and had everything still alive. Why do you think he did that? I actually don't understand that.
This might have just been an oversight on StrifeCro's point.
Yeah, I actually don't understand that play at all.
Here's the thing though, but this is kind of the mastermind that he is. We've seen StrifeCro make. StrifeCro has played very differently than the ways I have predicted he'll play in the past. Despite that, he continues to put up win after win. I mean, this is one of the masters of the game that you're watching right now. If he didn't play Kel'Thuzad here, there's something that he has going through his mind. I'm just not sure what it is at this point.
I mean, just imagine the position that we would be in, though, with the previous hand. Like, you would still have his friggin' Sylvanas out on the board, and it's like, how do you ever answer that?
Like, I agree with your play. I'm right there with you. Kel'Thuzad, run the 1/2 into the 7/1, run Sylvanas into the 5/5, take your opponent's Shade, revive the Slime and the Sylvanas.
Yeah.
I think that was the play to make there, but he has some sort of thing. This isn't just like a giant blunder that he's making.
Either way, he's still in a fantastic
He might
position.
just not want to reveal Kel'Thuzad at this point.
That's true. I mean, maybe he feels like he has it, but we'll have to see.
He's actually playing Toshli too. This is a card that really hit interest in StrifeCro particularly. I spoke with him about this card specifically because he said Toshli was just so good for the stats that it had. It's cost to stat ratio, and then you've got some utility out of it in the
spare
meantime.
parts, yeah. And I mean, the spare parts can honestly be massive. Sometimes they're meh. But I mean, a freeze can be incredible. Time rewinder can be incredible. Stealthing your own minion can keep it alive. I mean, even the extra attack can give you a good trade. Like really, all the spare parts can be quite useful. Time rewinder, especially like I've found with like blast mage and stuff like that, is insane. With a lot of the things that have good battle cries. I mean, whirling blade's still not bad.
1 mana, 1 damage.
Yep.
Gosh, look at the lead that StrifeCro has built. I think that the more I look at this game, the more I think he didn't play Kel'Thuzad.
Just didn't want to reveal.
Just did not want to reveal it, and I think he feels like he just has such a commanding position on this game that he doesn't need to play it this one.
And I think looking back, he was right, but it's definitely something that can come to bite you in the butt, and especially from Druid, which can have a lot of surprising bursts.
Second Force of Nature. Neirea has just drawn every expensive card in his deck this game so far. We saw Wild Growth early on.
Oh, Wild Growth, he actually got.
He picked up his Shades late, he picked up his Chill when Yeti's late. These Sludge Belcher's not able to get a lot of value. He's having to Force of Nature just to keep the board under control.
Yeah, I mean, his opening hand was gross. Like,
it was one of the worst opening hands that you could possibly draw.
Yeah.
And now he's got a 2/4 facing down 5/7. This is a commanding position on the StrifeCro. I don't know what Neirea can draw, but it's probably got to be Ragnaros into some perfect hits or something like that. Even Cairn in this deck.
Really interesting.
So much value built.
With Kel'Thuzad Cairn would be so hilarious. Like, just the most obnoxious card, but it is pretty slow, and it's one of the cards that seems to have fallen in favor a fair bit.
Traditionally, Warrior has had a very good matchup against a deck like Mage.
Yeah.
And StrifeCro, time and again, has tried to play these kind of value mages like this where you're grinding your opponent out of the game. At DreamHack, him and Kalento went through one of the most grueling series I had ever seen in so long, and that was a format where they had gotten to the best of 7 portion so they could revive a deck. StrifeCro lost to a fatigue war with Kalento in one of the games and chose to revive his main chef to play against Neirea. And sort of after the tournament was lamenting the fact that he didn't have Archmage Antonidas in there because the Warrior could kind of ignore Duplicate, and there was really nothing that you could do about it. But if you had Archmage, you could play Archmage and duplicate it, and your opponent could no longer ignore the Archmage Antonidas. And that was what swung the game. He wasn't able to get that list in time, but when you take a look at this list, it's basically in the same vein. It's got so much value built into it. This is clearly aimed at taking advantage of the fact that people are playing Control Warrior right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this has got to be finally the Kel'Thuzad turn. I mean, you can put your Toshli into the Sludge Belcher, and you can ping plus your Unstable Ghoul to clean up the ooze, and then you can actually just drop your Kel'Thuzad, and you can go face as well if you want, but you can continue to trade.
I think he's going to continue
just goes face.
I think he's going to continue to keep his Kel'Thuzad hidden.
Yeah.
I think at this point it's very consistent with his game plan where he doesn't want to reveal it.
It feels like a pretty weak turn this turn, but I guess it just doesn't matter. He's going to be able to clean things up with the Explosive Sheep, which is quite nice as well.
Yeah, he's just got so much value out of it.
Does decide to trade anyway, so yeah, I mean, obviously it would have been a much stronger turn with the Kel'Thuzad, but
damn, Whirling Blade, 6 mana, 1 damage. That's a huge one for StrifeCro right now.
It's like you said though, he just feels like he just doesn't have to show it.
Right. That's exactly what he's trying to do.
But 2 Karens would have been it would have been game over next turn.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably game over anyway, though, so I mean,
that's what he's looking at. Again, he chose to take that route very early on.
Yeah.
It makes sense that he's sticking to that plan. Wow, look at that's the kind of foresight that StrifeCro had this game.
Oh, now he gets this
turn after turn after turn before the game has ended, he has chosen to play it this way, knowing that this is going to stay hidden. Now, he ain't going to be able to clean his board back up, but he's left with Ancient Allure and Savage Roar. So, maybe StrifeCro going to have to turn this back around, and maybe his Kel'Thuzad's going to have to get dropped.
And I mean, if he loses the game on the back of not playing the Kel'Thuzad, that would be. And Zombie Chow is a super dead draw. Like, I mean, he can Arcane it and see what he gets, but it's like things are starting to slow down for him, man. And like,
he's going to continue to keep Kel'Thuzad hidden as long as he can. Again, this deck, wow, Illuminator even in here too. I wonder if Illuminator has replaced the ice barriers that he had in here before. Because he had Ice Barrier for Mad Scientist. I wonder if he's running Ice Blocks instead and using Illuminator to kind of keep his life topped off instead of using Ice Barrier.
Yeah. Well, he's got to heal. There's no real question. So it's simply just, I guess the only question is if you drop the Shade or not, but I feel like you have to. I think you have to. You have to drop the Shade.
You just have to get something rolling.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's
actually
going to draw. Wow.
So,
wow. Are you surprised at that?
I think this is just kind of a concession, I think, from Neirea, and like maybe he's kind of thought to himself that if I cannot last another, like if I have to heal here, I'm going to fall so far behind in cards that I'm not going to be able to ever catch back up. So he's looking to sustain himself at 1 health here, and then try to kill this zombie chow and turn the game back around from there. StrifeCro actually doesn't have lethal this turn.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think that really he should have healed though. I mean,
when he's trying to draw, if he draws Wrath here too, he can heal for 5 off the zombie chow. So drawing cards, it does make sense. And what this tells me is that his game plan, he doesn't feel like he can win if he heals for 5, and that he has a better chance to draw out of the scenario because he still has 2 Wraths left in his deck. This is of course assuming he's playing Wrath, but very likely has 2 Wraths left in his deck when he chooses to draw 2 cards there. He can still draw like Innervate, Swipe to take out the zombie chow. He has multiple ways to do this. And again, StrifeCro doesn't have lethal this turn. Yeah. He had to have damage in his hand. And from what Neirea's seen, I think he's probably pretty familiar with this list. Again, both of these players were playing at DreamHack when Neirea kind of saw what was going on here. And it was one of the longest matches I'd seen in a long time. And Kel'Thuzad finally going to have to be revealed here. And he's actually going to heal his opponent back up just to keep control of the board. And this basically has got him on the game. Look at this board presence.
Yeah, it definitely does. But I mean, you can't help but feel like maybe you should have just done that a little bit earlier and just ended the game out.
I'm not going to disagree with that, but again, it's just his game plan certainly was to try to keep Kel'Thuzad hidden for future games.
Yep. And I mean, he's going to be able to take the game, but unfortunately for him, not going to be able to actually keep it hidden.
Neirea's going to continue to play this though. I mean, he is at 12 points of health. Zombie Chow's still on the board. That's 5 potential more points of healing. Kel'Thuzad's silence at this point. Maybe he can find another recovery spot. He's not going to, of course. Again, this is just he's so far behind, even after he's drawn 2 cards. Even despite that, it's like one of those situations where I don't feel like it's worth it to just sit there and continue to lose. Yeah. Because
after the Kel'Thuzad was
even if you feel like you have like one of the strongest mindsets in the game and that sort of thing's not going to tilt you, it's just maybe the straw that broke the camel's back sort of thing. There's no reason to pile it up on yourself when you're just not going to be able to win that game.
Well, and I feel like also it's like, where is the win condition? I mean, he's already played both Force of Natures just to clear. His hand is like a Savage Roar. Yeah, that's his hand. I mean, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to draw that wins you that game? I can't think of anything.
I think that despite the fact that his hand was so terrible, though, he put up a pretty good fight.
He did put up a really good fight.
He didn't play anything till turn 5.
Yeah. I was really surprised with the Kel'Thuzad turn. I mean, actually, I wondered why he didn't play earlier, but not revealing it actually helps him because in later games, he's not going to know that he has that if he could have gone away with
right, if that information keeps concealed, that's clearly at the end of the game what StrifeCro was going for. It's a matter of whether or not it was worth taking that risk because we saw a turn where maybe Neirea could have started to piece things together again. I think, again, it's just StrifeCro's very confident in that build. It's going to play a really strong mid to late game, obviously, with the way that this is built.
For sure. Let's go ahead and get into game 2.
Yeah, Neirea really needing to turn this back around now. And if there's a deck that can probably start to do it against this mage deck, it's probably Handlock's probably going to be able to be one of the ones that can fight it. But to that same token, he's having to fight through a lot of stuff here. You're looking at potentially fireballs that are in here. I don't actually think StrifeCro's playing fireball on this list.
He's anti-Healbot, another interesting card.
Yep, anti-Healbots are in here. Again, just ways to keep his life topped off. He does have 2 copies of Polymorph. You're looking at Sylvanas, Cairn, Kel'Thuzad, Sludge Belcher,
Duplicate can really pose some issues sometimes against Handlock.
He's got a lot that he has to fight through in this matchup to make sure that things go his way.
Yeah, definitely does. Has the Twilight Drake in the opening hand, so that's something. And I mean, we'll have to see.
There's that Archmage.
Oh, so wow. This is a really interesting deck list. It seems like it has a little bit of everything.
It does. It's even got the great early game with Zombie Chows and Unstable Wolves.
Yeah. And Zombie Chow to me is like, it's such a tough card because it's so strong if you play it on turn 1, but it's such a dead card late in the game and it can kind of keep your opponent alive, but obviously it is worth the trade-off here for him.
Yeah. This card, like in particular, is like, StrifeCro's deck is so aimed at late game that he feels okay having that dead draw so that he can have that early game more limits.
Now, as StrifeCro here, like looking at this turn, I mean, you can obviously coin out the Water Alley, but do you feel like Duplicate going down here is worth even just delaying the potential 4-drop going down? Like, because your opponent, seeing that Tigger Grade going to come down, is going to assume it's Duplicate. They're probably not going to play a Drake or anything into it, and he does obviously have the Owl, but I mean, where in your thought process is that? Do you think it's worth chancing it that they don't have that early drop and they have to play something into it? or even if they do, that they have to delay it a turn.
I don't think he wants to drop duplicate here, namely because he has the Zombie Chow out.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to get that duplicated. Of course, this does present an interesting bluff opportunity. Neirea knows that StrifeCro is not going to play a duplicate while he's got a Sludge Belcher out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, while he's got the Zombie Chow out. Is he going to think that maybe
mirror
it's
image? That's what I mean. Yeah. Like that's why I'm like sorry I didn't express my thoughts very well, but that's what I was trying to get at is scaring him away from playing a turn 4 threat.
That certainly is something that he's thinking about right now. But I think the coin in this matchup is so valuable when he finds Archmage and Sylvanas in his hand right now that he's just going to continue to forego development here. I mean, he's gotten 10 points of damage onto his opponent. Neirea certainly is going to have to be concerned about the idea of fireballs and frostbolts. So it's basically two different bluff opportunities that StrifeCro's had to go here with, and choosing to forego development just to put out a little bit of extra pressure. It also kind of sends a message about what your hand could possibly be. Like maybe he's got 2 polymorphs already in his. I mean, he hasn't done anything other than the Zombie Chow. His hand just could be really stacked.
Definitely. So
something that didn't get revealed last game, by the way, was Ice Block.
Yeah, exactly. And not something I would expect personally to see in a deck list like this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be a big surprise. But in a matchup like this, it can mean so much for your opponent to just be like, I have lethal, I can kill him.
Well, and it's like those turns. I mean, it can just be massive damage turns from the Warlock. I mean, it can be like, 2 8/8s get taunted up. It can be potentially 18 damage and stuff. So, interesting that he didn't actually attack with a Zombie Chow, even though he's at 20 HP.
Yeah, I think at this point, what he's concerned with is just keeping his opponent from being able to like Molten Giant all the time.
But that early.
It's what's coming to his mind at this point. I don't think he just missed the attack. That is definitely
of course it was deliberate. Yeah. But I was just curious because usually see people holding back, a little bit deeper into their health. Around 15 is where people start to talk about it more. But I guess it's just doesn't see any potential to kill his opponent yet, so he doesn't even want to get close to that.
Yeah.
And I mean, looking at this turn, how do you feel about starting to develop the Sylvanas?
Sylvanas here, I think, is probably a little bit premature considering how StrifeCro's chosen to play this game already. Wow, this ice block. This ice block is very likely to force an attack onto this Mad Scientist.
Yeah.
Maybe thinking that this is duplicate instead.
Or mirror entity.
Yeah. This is
It's very hard. It's very hard to read this.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's like you were not suspecting ice block at this point. So
if he attacks in and it doesn't die, is he then like, okay, I can't play a giant?
Well, now his first thought is probably that it's ice barrier.
Yeah.
So this attack's going to come in. So now he knows it's not ice barrier. What's StrifeCro's other secret? That's why it's probably duplicate, but I want to know what it is. So now at this point, Neirea's like, this has got to be counterspell.
Yeah.
So now he finds out it's not counterspell, but that the second secret's duplicate.
Yeah.
What on earth is this last secret? I think in his mind right now that he thinks it's mirror image, but now he knows it's not mirror image.
So now he does know.
So now he's got, at this point, by process of elimination, Neirea can have figured out that this is ice block at this point.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of funny. He was actually able to check for every single secret that in one turn
of 6 mana and using a life tap.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually hilarious. But
this looks like a pretty good Sylvanas turn. Yeah. I mean, even if you only get an Ancient Watcher out of this, it's not so much that you got an Ancient Watcher, but more that they didn't have it.
Yeah. I mean, not able to use it for Shadow Flame or taunt it up or silence it or whatever. Yeah. There's a lot of annoying things. Also, having Jiraxis in hand is pretty nice here because if he does try to burn too early, that can be something that you feel gets on your back foot a bit against Handlock. And I mean, that's something that I've fallen prey to. I think everyone has it at some point, where you just start feeling the pressure and you start feeling like you have to just go face at a certain point. And I mean, if you burn them down to 3 HP or something like that, and they Jiraxis, that can honestly often just be the game.
Having used it on the Sylvanas there, no question that you go for face here. That you're not really worried about the 5/5 at all from your opponent.
There's no way to get rid of.
And I mean, these Drakes, man, are doing so much work.
Yeah.
It's like this Drake has been down already for 3 turns, 4 turns. And it's really causing a lot of problems. It's like, it just has so much HP. It's not something you really want to bash your head into. And I mean, it's kind of looking like a little bit of a rough spot here for StrifeCro. I mean, it's like, you have Ancient Ice Coin, but there are already answers in hand, the Siphon Souls. He has a couple of Frost Bolts, but he's kind of trying to save those for face and everything, and Antonitis. So it's like, it's kind of an awkward position that he's got himself in here.
Yeah, so in the forefront of StrifeCro's mind, of course, is how to begin to diffuse this situation. So at this point, he's going to be looking to find value from what he's got right now. And then once he's restabilized, able to use Archmage to help pick up the pieces afterwards. So
yeah, the Illuminator is pretty nice as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's still at a pretty comfortable life total. I don't think he expects too much burst to come out, but frankly, the Illuminator is just going to get some decent value here. I mean, it's healing from points of health. It's absorbing an attack from potentially one of these Twilight Drakes here, and then at the same time, it's also dealing 2 damage. He's getting some pretty fantastic value from it, really, all things considered.
Shadowflake is going to come out there, so pretty brutal for StrifeCro. He's down to 16 HP now, and it just feels like in the hand of Neirea here, it feels like he has all the answers.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me too. I mean, he's still got 2 Siphon Souls left. Again, he has Jiraxxus still.
And Jiraxxus, so it's like unless he kills him on 1 turn.
Yeah, he's got like basically all the recovery points that are going forward here.
And it's got to be the Antonidas turn, so it's probably just me. Antonidas coin, Frostbolt.
Yeah, you're definitely going to see Frostbolt on the 4-9. Yeah, he's going to look to hope to leverage this. So Siphon Soul almost certainly getting played next turn.
Yeah.
But StrifeCro just picked up 2 Fireballs, so he's going to pay a lot of life, but he has an Ice Block down. Maybe this is the recovery point.
Yeah, definitely possible. And Antonidas can be that like incredible swing card in the late game.
Gosh, 2 Fireballs picked up from it.
What is his secret again?
Ice Block.
Okay, yeah, my mistake. Yeah.
Mountain Giant picked up. He cannot play it this turn, though, unless he wants to forego using Siphon Soul, which he definitely is not going to do. So Mountain Giant going to cost 3 mana next turn. StrifeCro down to 12, but he's got 2 copies of Fireball now.
And also, then...
Just have a Frostbolt.
Frostbolt, yeah. So I mean, if he did play Lord Jiraxxus here, he could easily take him out the next turn.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way that Neirea is going to play that until he's low. You know, he's not going to play that early, I don't think. But still, I mean, he's feeling like he has the Fireball to clear. And, you know, it's not the greatest situation. And we haven't seen a Fireball in his actual deck so far. You know, obviously he has the 2 from the Antonidas, but we'll see if there's going to be actually anything in there.
Wow. Do you think he should have actually held on to that Fireball and used Poly instead, or saved
Poly? I think you have to have the Poly for something that's tougher to get rid of, because it's like, you know, Polymorph can deal with anything. Like, it can deal with, obviously, the 8/8, or it can deal with like a Sludge Belcher cleaning or something like that. So the Fireball was a clean answer to that, but all his plays are going to look a little bit rough in this position, I think.
Flame Strike close to being good here, but not quite. This is certainly Polymorph on the Mountain Giant.
Yeah, it has to be.
I don't really think there's much question about that. But then, how do you move forward from here? Like, if you
fireball ping, then you're losing your win conditions.
Right. So, and then the risk, of course, of playing against Stable Ghoul is that your opponent could have a second Iron Beak out.
Yep.
So StrifeCro really going to carefully navigate this turn, but you know, sort of from the get go, it looks to me like Polymorph, Fireball, and the Drake to make it a 4/1,
and then ping.
No, I think that I'm using Unstable Ghoul. I think Unstable Ghoul is a really good risk here because, again, he's still sitting behind an Ice Block, so his opponent they have to be able to pop the Ice Block and then follow up on damage next turn. So he's still got Antique Healbot he can draw. Maybe he has more Illuminators in his deck, so he can play Duplicate and Illuminator, heal up for 4 more points of health. You know, all these little things are going through StrifeCro's mind right now, but this is certainly a turn where he's got to look to stabilize.
Yeah. It's not obviously an issue of if you can survive this turn or anything like that. It's just an issue of where do you win the game? You know, what series of cards now wins in the game?
He's got to grind him out, man.
And he does draw the Calvazad, so that's something. He's going to have to poly up here. He's not going to be able to Fireball as a result, so it's probably just going to be a Frostbolt just to slow things down. And he's going to have the double freeze out. He does have a Flame Strike for next turn, so he's kind of setting up a pretty nice Flame Strike as well.
Really well done turn.
Yeah. Well,
Even got the Arcane Int in there too, so he doesn't have to. He's not worried about drawing another one of those. I imagine there's probably 1 copy of that in this deck.
Yeah.
And a tough turn from Neirea. I mean, both these Molten Giants cost 10 mana. Jiraxxus isn't a good play. Big Game Hunter's getting no value. Do you want to Siphon Soul a 3/3?
Oh my god!
Wow, he's actually gonna.
I actually feel like.
Wow, you faced Jiraxxus, and Neirea is. I mean, this is a bit of a risk I think that he's taking here, but certainly not unjustified. Look at the lead he's got.
Yeah, but why take the risk? I mean, when your opponent has already had to use like 2 Fireballs to clear, using Frostbolt to stabilize and stuff.
Has Fireball.
I mean, I
think that's why he's taking the risk is because I think he's just familiar with this list from StrifeCro. He knows that there's no natural Fireballs likely to be in this list.
Do you like that turn though? Not saving it for a heal back up.
I mean, he's sitting behind a taunt right now. He's got a lot of pressure on the board, and the rest of his hand, frankly, just doesn't have a lot of action in it. So I think this plan makes Perfect sense.
Okay.
This is likely a turn that StrifeCro could turn that back around, though. Again, that's the second copy of Illuminator. So maybe he's able to heal back up. His Ice Block's going to stay put. He's able to clear out this 1-2 slime. Now, sort of the caveat to this is he's going to have to face... Molten Giants cannot come out right now. This is the maximum life total is set to 15.
Oh, yeah,
so until he gets down to 5, those Molten Giants aren't able to get played, but there's a 6/6 getting turned out every turn now.
Yeah, of course. And he does have the Taunters and everything available as well. By the way, I mean, StrifeCro is going to at least get healed back up to 8 from that Illuminator. But there is the Mortal Coil plus the Hero Power, so going to be able to deal that pretty nicely.
He's got Dark Bomb for the water limit,
yeah,
too.
that's really nice.
Dr. Boom picked up, though. That's almost certainly the play here.
And even with Poly in hand, it's still like kind of gross.
Yeah, this is exactly the situation you were talking about. Even if Dr. Boom gets dealt with, you're still facing down some damage.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is, it like potentially could force Ice Block here. It wouldn't actually be that hard to force Ice Block if those do get killed off because there's no other targets rather than the face. So it's like even if you drop, I mean you can drop Unstable Ghoul and stuff to answer them, but if both of them bounce face, he could be triggering his Ice Block. But I'm just failing to see where StrifeCro comes back from here.
He does have another natural fireball because didn't he get 2 from Antonitis?
He got 2 from Antonitis.
Well,
but
this is assuming he plays fireball on the list, though.
We don't even
You
know.
take a look at everything that's in
true,
here. We've
that's
seen
true.
Kel'Thuzad, we've seen Toshli, Arcane into like 2 Illuminators, Anti-Healbot, Duplicate, Ice Block, 2 Polymorphs, 2 Frostbolt. Like where does the fireball fit? I think that feels like the normal cut to me at this point. I'd be really careful to make sure that he navigates his damage correctly. He's got a way to pop this Ice Block this turn, but he knows it's Ice Block to go at this point. So,
he does know for sure because he tested every other thing on that one turn.
Certainly going to be careful to make sure. He could have Hellfired here to pop the Ice Block, but how much does that cost him? I don't think it's a play he's really too willing to make at this point.
Yeah.
He's going to let these sort of boom bots happen and kind of reevaluate the board state afterwards.
Well, if he does trade with that, then I definitely think the anti-heal bot is going down 100%. So.
I imagine he wants to taunt up the anti-heal bot and
okay, yep, that is going to play.
StrifeCro down to 6, but still Ice Block up. And Noyatron, not the greatest draw at the moment.
No. I mean, obviously it does have a fireball to answer the 6/6, but still, it's the same thing we're talking about. You say a lot, but how do you win?
I think the way you win this game is you get Kel'Thuzad behind some Noyatrons.
Yeah. it's looking like it might have to just be Kel'Thuzad and Noyatron. Because, the fireball...
Well, he can still live for one more turn. Again, he's sitting behind the Ice Block. So he can fireball the 6/6 this turn, attack into this anti-heal bot.
And he's still kind of developing nothing on the board, though, right? It's like
tough.
The Kel'Thuzad would have to come down the additional turn. His other minions are probably already going to have him been cleared. And the thing is, it's like the 6/6 never ends. That's just your hero power now. Yeah. So it's not like he's going to run out of good creatures to play.
2 mana make a 6/6. What a deal!
It is a deal, man.
Thanks, Jiraxis.
That is a great deal.
Yeah,
it's one I would take every time.
You thought Auctioneer had the best deals anywhere, man.
Yeah,
Jiraxis
not
has
even
got
close, man. It's like a whole new world when you discover Jiraxis. Went on internet and found out everything is cheaper. Okay, wow. Oh, that's nice. 1 to the face is about as good as you can hope for there. Unstable Ghoul going to be perhaps coming out, but he doesn't want to have that trigger his Annoyatron shield. I think that's why he's not going to play it. Because the hero power could just come out, or rather,
he wants to get a top behind. He wants to get a top behind the Kel'Thuzad.
Yeah.
When he gets it out, so definitely doesn't want to lose both of his minions this game. But man, Neirea, those 2 Molten Giants, again, those are dead for a long time, but still, just the 6/6 hero power is providing you so much leverage right now.
Yeah.
My shield for
he is going to be able to get in some face damage here now. So, is he going to actually Shadow Flame? Okay, so he's going to Shadow Flame up the Sheep. So Sheep actually getting some work done, and this is going to be the Ice Block forced. And now, it's got to be game. I feel like it's just a concede at next turn.
I don't know what he can pick up, but it's got to be something big.
He has the Hellfire for lethal. It doesn't even matter. I don't think there's.
I don't think there's any way he's getting out of this one.
No.
Maybe anti-Healbot? No, it's
He already had 1. He already played 1. Does he have 2? You think? I'm guessing he doesn't have 2.
I would not suspect that 2 copies of Anti-Keelbot are in this list, but...
Yeah, neither would I. So I think that is going to be it. I think we're going to see the concede here from StrifeCro. And he's going to drop a game to Neirea, which would mean it will all be tied up. And definitely a very interesting mage deck from StrifeCro, but hasn't really panned out for him this turn.
Yeah. But, pretty good fight, again, that was put up. It's just Neirea starting so strong. 2 Twilight Drakes. Again, 1 set on the board for 4 straight turns. That's tough to beat. That's 16 points of damage that a 4-mana card has gotten in.
And they were both like ones with like maximum cards. I mean, it was like a 4/9. It's not something. There's no easy answer to that. It's not something he felt like he could cheat. Fireballing that is gross. Like, how do you answer that as a mage with that list? There's not really a lot of easy ways. So
it's a tough turn. Again, I think that playing the duplicate up there obviously was kind of suicide on the duplicate turn.
I mean, it just felt to me like Neirea had the answers all game long.
Yeah.
I mean, he was sitting with 2 Soul Siphons in his hand, like basically the whole game. Anything that was going to come down was going to get answered.
All right, well, I'm interested to see the next game. StrifeCro will be playing Warrior, so let's see it.
Of course, cards like Execute, Shield Slam, you're able to take out so many of these large minions. It's a matter of whether or not he can stabilize to kind of work through from there. Because something else that happens when you pick up Shield Maiden and you have that extra health in your deck is now that weapons are dealing extra damage. Something that one of the ways that Handlock won before is you could just force Warrior to kind of use weapons and take too much damage and find turns where they were using stuff like Leroy, Power Overwhelming, and Faceless Manipulator, but that's not in this list anymore.
Yeah.
That combo is no longer available. If you want to use it, it's got to be with like Arcane Golem and something too, and that's only 16 points of damage. It's not the 20 you had before, so most people have chosen to forego that.
Yeah.
But wow, what a fantastic start here from StrifeCro. He's got an Execute, he's got 2 Acolytes, and a 50.
Yeah.
The only thing he's really weak to here,
as well.
Yeah, the only thing he's really weak to here is something like Twilight Drake.
Yep. And we don't see that in hand. So, definitely looking pretty nice from the start here. And Sylvanas is also a key card against Handlock, and you can cast Execute your own Steel Giants, things like that. There's a lot of plays you can make. You can't execute your own.
No, you cannot execute your own minion. Of course, if you watch Kid Kat's stream, it's something he does all the time, is try to execute his own Sylvanas. He's been known for it since the beginning.
Oh god, yeah.
Definitely not something that Artosis tried to do first.
Oh yeah, of course I remember that now. Oh god, terrible. But anyway, definitely a really nice opening hand here for StrifeCro.
Continuing to develop this board forward. I mean, you just saw Dark Bomb on an Acolyte, so obviously that does sort of present the problem for your opponent. But your 4-mana turn here, this is one that's really important for Warrior. It always has a lot of options when you draw these kinds of hands. Mm-hmm. Is developing Acolyte better here? Is using your mana more efficiently better here? He doesn't have a Shield Slam right now, but if he chooses to forego that armor, maybe that's a message he sends to his opponent, like, I don't have Shield Slam, that's why I'm not armoring up right now. Mm. So all of these things is what he's thinking about. He doesn't want to send too many signals to Neirea, and again, Neirea, a very strong, logical kind of player. Like, any signals that you potentially send to your opponent, he's the guy that picks up on.
Yeah, Armorsmith armor up looks like it's going to play, and I think that was the one I was kind of looking at. I mean, it fits the curve well. You have Acolyte next turn with an armor up. There's no real threat. You have a lot of different options coming out. And I mean, the big game hunter is going to be there to answer. And
he's got the beast in his sights. Yeah. Dr. Boom picked up 2. StrifeCro, he plays this card. He played actually all 4 of his decks at the Kingwood event.
Yeah.
No surprise to see.
I don't blame him, man.
Yeah, I don't blame him either. The card's great.
I think it's fantastic.
He gets another armor up here too. It really looks like he's got Shield Slam with the way that this game's played out. Yeah. Because on his turn 4, he didn't immediately make the decision to use Armorsmith and armor up. So it's given a really, I think, an illusion of a very strong range so far to Neirea.
Yeah. Thankfully, he will have the Owl available for Sylvanas if that does come down at some point in the game. But Shield Maiden is pretty nice here as well. I mean, I guess it just depends how he wants to deal with this Belcher.
Yeah, this looks like a really good turn where, again, redeveloping your Acolyte is good, but man, it's really tough to pass up a 5/5.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's also just a question of how you want to deal with the Belcher. Like, how do you want to get through that? I mean, he has a weapon in hand. He has ways to deal with it, but it's just a question of if he wants to trade in these minions or if he'd just rather sit on them, drop the Shield Maiden.
It's a tough turn. I like going with the Acolyte here, I think.
Yeah.
Shield Maiden's going to be great at pretty much any point of the game. Yeah. So, taking what you can get right now, I think, is important.
I think this makes a lot of sense as well because, I mean, it's like the Big Game Hunter has already done its work. Why let it just potentially die to like a Hellfire or something like that? You may as well just trade it in, get rid of this Get rid of this minion.
I mean, if you saw Dark Bomb and Acolyte before, it probably still is
Yeah,
a moderate threat in terms of the card advantage battle.
definitely. So looking at the low step turn, and you talk about the Drakes being kind of like what would be the tough thing for StrifeCro to deal with, and he still hasn't drawn any.
There's the Owl, though. So
Oh god! So now Sylvanas is going to be a lot
one of the tools that he wanted to save for Sylvanas, but I mean, you got to stop the Acolyte card draws here. If that got rolling, it's just too much damage.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of like just Dr. Boom here, man.
I think this is like
it's hard to not like Dr. Boom on any turn you can play it. Well, of course, that's not true, but I really do like Dr. Boom here. I
so
think
good.
Yeah. I feel like you can just take out the 2/1.
Are you going to get a better Dr. Boom
3?
That's what I want.
I don't think so. I just feel like there's no like major like pressing threat that you have to deal with here. I just feel like you just drop Dr. Boom. You can take out the 2/1 and just go face with your 1/1. And yeah.
He's thinking about Hellfire too in that same regard, though.
Yep, that's definitely true. Something you have to think about. Okay, so he's going to trade in both. This definitely makes a lot of sense as well. I mean,
this prevents a Hellfire
with the trade. Yeah. So it's a less greedy play. It definitely is the intelligent one with Hellfire in hand.
Mortal Coil like a Boombot. What do you do first, though? Do you use the Owl to pick up 2 points damage? I don't think you do. Not the Dr. Doom anyway.
I wouldn't.
Wow, it's a 4-point damage from it.
Let's see. It's going to be roll high again. 4 and a 3. Ouch.
Not bad.
Dr. Boom has now dealt 7 points of damage.
He can
took
soul
care of
siphon
Iron
it.
Regal, and he's still got a 7/7 on the board. So.
I mean, this is the value of the card. It's like it's not just a soul siphon answer. It's got to be like a soul siphon, an owl, a mortal coil, and he took 7 points of damage. Like, look at the freaking value.
No,
from this
that's
card.
not value.
Like, look at the value from this card, even with having the answers. And if he didn't have the answers, he would have to take this additional
Wow,
step.
he chose to not use Siphon Soul here. So this means he wants to get a swing turn with his Molten Giants. He wants to get attack for 7 here. But maybe bit off a little bit more than he could chew.
Dude.
He picked up that Ragnaros right off the top. My gosh.
Oh, I think you just dropped Rag. You just
oh my gosh. Just picks up the Ragnaros straight away.
I mean, especially with having execute task in your hand, having Sylvanas, you have a lot of answers here. I feel like it's such a high potential in the game off that your opponent can't Drax this next turn or anything.
Yep.
It's like
This is actually
StrifeCro actually made this may be a turn where he deliberately doesn't attack either, and just he can set a Shield Maiden and a weapon and pass the turn.
Yeah.
And then he's got then what does the opponent do?
It's actually lethal. Oh no, never mind. Not.
no.
So like if he
said,
say he says Shield Maiden or Sylvanas,
Dragonfire.
and then drops his axe to go along with it.
Yeah.
And doesn't attack.
Definitely
Neirea, I mean, this turn really looks to me like Neirea has got 2 Molten Giants in his hand here.
Yeah.
But with 6 mana, just tapped and passed into a 7/7 with 18 health out.
He's gonna rag.
He's gonna go for it, though.
He's going for it. I like it.
My gosh, 8 damage to the face. Somebody stop the match.
He's got to put him to 3 HP.
That's like, man, it's like you just come right out of the audience, like right off the top turnbuckle, just drops the elbow on him.
Well, he's gonna have a really nice turn. I mean, he's gonna have double Molten, Soul Siphon, and Taunt up.
Gosh, what a big turn. This is exactly what Neirea wanted.
Ooh, Shadow Flame instead. He was mousing over for a second.
I mean, it looks to me like Shadow Flame.
Shadow Flame, you think Shadow Flame? Yeah. It definitely makes a lot more sense. Because if one of those got executed, then that could go face. Yeah, it's too risky. So I think Shadow Flame definitely makes a lot of sense.
In the same regard, though, if he uses Shadow Flame here, he's missing a Molten Giant. So then, like one execute,
and he's not healing up anymore either.
Yeah.
Like so, I mean, the additional health can be key. So he may still actually go with the Siphon Soul. We'll have to see what he's going to decide here.
So much damage. I think this is actually.
Well, looking at the game, I mean, if he Hellfires, he can live. If he Soul Siphons, he loses because it's going to be Cruel Task, Execute, go face. So if he Soul Siphons, the game ends. To deduct 2 Boom.
No, he's got 2 Hades out, doesn't he?
No, because he would have to Shadow Flame. He would have to. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
So if he Shadow Flames,
then yeah, he can't actually.
Look at this. He's actually going to taunt him his extra 2/3 because he knows that an execute and a weapon would be
end
lethal.
the game. Yeah. So this is actually really smart. Ooh, Baron Geddon. Oh my God, he can put him with 1 HP. I mean, how do you feel about if he Baron Geddon's here? He can Baron Geddon. He can weapon up. He can take out one of the 2/3s. Or you can just Baron Geddon XU. I think you just Baron Geddon. He has the XU for the next turn. So I mean, it's like Do you think? I think you have to kind of Baron Geddon, or do you prefer just dropping like Sylvanas and Weapon and killing one of the 2/3s?
Yeah, there's a few different lines of play here. It's just a matter of again of how he sets up lethal best. So
yeah,
this is one of those things where you're going to kind of have to wait and see what he does, because I think all three of his lines of play
they're all pretty reasonable for sure.
Yeah. Like Sylvanas is really good, but Shieldbane's really good too. Just getting the axe out there, because if you axe away one of these 2/3s and then you execute this giant, he's got to have a way to stave off that attack.
Yeah.
I mean, and the attack isn't even like a large one. It's just a fiery war axe.
Yeah. Really anything. So he's gonna decide to go with the Sylvanas, and at least he's thinking about it. Yep. So we'll be Sylvanas War Axe. Very reasonable stuff. And I mean, this is kind of like saying like have a silence. I mean, he can. Seriously, that's so risky. Like.
Yeah, because it could still giant for it.
Well, he's got an Earthbending Farce here, so it's a 67% chance that Sylvanas steals the wrong minion here.
Yeah. I feel like.
Oh gosh, this is so
do you think
tough.
he has to go for it? I think he does.
Well, how else is he going to win this game? Again, he's
tap.
He goes down to 1 HP.
Oh, it gets a silence.
Up a silence for Sylvanas.
Oh my god, are you kidding me? Silence off the top.
It's a Sludge Belcher down. His defense is so good right now.
Oh,
but he's only
wow.
at 1 HP. He's actually going to die because he dropped the Sludge Belcher.
Because of the Baron Geddon. Oh no.
My gosh.
What a crazy ending, man. He's not going to decide to heal up, and that is going to be his demise. I'm sure was not expecting the Baron Geddon. It's a card that has really fallen out of favor quite a bit, but has been making a resurgence in GVG, and now StrifeCro going to use it. What a crazy tournament at the end there. Like, I mean, taps, he does pick up the silence, which is exactly what he wanted, but, decides, to not heal up, decides to not use the Soul Siphon. Actually getting killed by the Baron Geddon is a pretty crazy end, so... Very good match there, very, very close.
I think something he was thinking about at the end too, and he chose not to heal, was worried about Grommash, Whirlwind, and Execute. Yeah. If he leaves one taunt minion on the board, that's a very likely combo to kill him.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of weighing how likely is it that my opponent is not only playing Baron Geddon, that he has it, but we know that he's playing Whirlwind, and we know he's playing Grommash, and we know he's playing Execute.
All right, well, let's get into game 3, StrifeCro versus Neirea.
This is going to be it, man. I mean, if he doesn't pull out a win with this Warrior deck, he's going home.
We're going to see the opening hands there. Most of it going to get mulliganed away. We'll hold on to that Acolyte of Pain.
Wow, another pretty difficult start here from Neirea, where he's got a bunch of expensive cards in his hand. And Big Game Hunter, not an expensive card, but certainly not one you're going to play early. But, the deck returning the favor over to StrifeCro now. He's got Ragnaros and Alexstrasza in his hand, too. So
And a nice draw there for the second turn, having the Armor Smith to be able to play that up. And then he'll have a turn 3 play as well. So it does kind of... come a little bit alive here now.
Just a couple of draws really changing the way these games could have potentially panned out if you saw either one of these players continue to pick up big cost cards.
Another dead card, yeah.
Yep.
StrifeCro's not in a bad spot though. He has the turn 3 coin Despite if he wants to be able to answer. He is going to have some options for that. So we'll see what he's going to go with.
Certainly
there's potential to Acolyte as well.
Certainly some merit, I think, to playing Acolyte straight away here,
especially with the 1 damage there.
You are risking it a little bit into something like, maybe Cruel Taskmaster or Fiery War Axe.
Yeah, but it's just like one of those things where you have to think about where you're going to find the better turn, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a hard play. I think if he doesn't have the Despite, I think he would definitely have done that. But having the Despite, knowing that's kind of like the guaranteed answer and that your opponent could have those answers with the Cruel Task or with the Fiery War Axe kind of makes it a bit scary, I think.
It's also going to really set up really nicely with the Acolyte because you're going to get the Whirlwind effect from Despite as you're playing the Acolyte.
Yep.
Let the pain speak to me.
So very likely going to be that coin Despite. But still potentially could just drop the Acolyte if you just want to...
Yeah, I think if he's going to Despite here, he definitely attacks this Acolyte of Pain.
Yeah, I agree.
He's trying to deny that from...
You can't let him have more than one draw. Yep, that's what you're going to play. And then, like you said, he is going to be able to have the follow-up potentially with the Acolyte and get that Death Rattle, get the draw off it.
Yep.
Guarantee himself a second draw, or at least force out a silence to deny that second draw.
Yeah. Silence is something that actually has been really difficult to fit into Warrior decks lately.
Yeah.
Because you have the 2 extra Shieldbanes.
Yeah. But at the same time, I feel like it's so valuable, and like especially in GVG, there's a lot of really powerful Death Rattle cards.
Pretty clear-cut turn here from StrifeCro.
Yeah.
Able to pick up his extra card. Gosh, this is like the absolute last thing that Neirea wanted to see was an Acolyte pair with this Despite.
And he really is picking up a lot of the pieces to the puzzle here for himself. I mean, both players are having kind of like a handful of legendaries, and Neirea actually playing Baron Geddon as well, so both players are. I mean, they both have a big game Hunter sitting in their hand, like both have a Ragnaros sitting in their hand, both have Alex Straza sitting in their hand. They actually have very similar hands going forward.
Yep. It's panned out pretty unfortunately, I think, for both these players so far, but they would love to see some more mid-game action. I think it's
just going to be a cruel task.
Looking at the hands, I think I got to give an advantage over here to Neirea, simply because he's got the Grommash pick
exactly.
as well. Harrison Jones, though, certainly has a potential to really swing things if Neirea picks up a turn where a weapon's getting set.
Yeah.
Obviously, Gorehowl is probably one of the best targets you can get from that, but it's got to be in your opponent's deck first.
I don't think StrifeCro's playing. I mean, we haven't seen it in any of the decks so far. We haven't seen the entire list yet or anything, so
What now?
positive, but
Maybe do you think a Whirlwind Execute would have been a bad play there to get rid of the Sludge Belcher?
I just feel like you can't really blow it on something like that, knowing that there's all these powerful cards in the deck remaining, and also just it's kind of like too much to give, especially because he still has the death rattle. It's like the ooze in the background. He's gonna have to deal with everything.
Another Sludge Belcher.
I can take the hit.
So much being picked up here. Yep,
So
choosing to go for
powerful
face here,
moves.
I think, is the right play too. It's just like
He's not
this
gonna
2/2's
execute
never
that.
going to get too much value.
Exactly. He's never gonna execute it or anything.
Other than direct here.
Yeah.
The only time this ever even comes close to biting you is if your opponent has a weapon to run into this.
Fire War Axe.
But then you get 3 extra points of damage.
Exactly. It's not a big deal. There's no case in which it's some horrible play. I mean, it's just not looking like the best turn from here. I mean, it looks to me like it's just a Belcher turn. But, yeah, more and more I am starting to like, position of Neirea.
It's really tough overall for
Yeah.
him to get something rolling here. Gosh, he's going to have to execute this turn if he's hovering that
If he
whirlwind.
is
This
going to
definitely
whirlwind, he's definitely
yeah.
going to execute the Shield Maiden. I mean, do you feel like you're in the position that you have to at this point already? I mean, it kind of feels like you're like already accepting that you're so far behind if you're doing that.
I mean, but that's the presence that an extra 5/5 in this deck has provided.
I don't know. I mean, do you like using the whirlwind more than the cruel task in that situation?
I think so. I think the Cruel Taskmaster probably has a little bit more value than the whirlwind does in this matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of Exhibit A, like whirl. It's not a very good card.
Yeah, because that Cool Taskmaster, say with Grommash, is going to be a much better situation.
Yeah. They both kind of serve similar purpose. It's definitely a game that has slowed down quite a bit here,
Yeah.
and it's like one of the things that happens pretty frequently, I think, with the Control of Warrior Mirrors is that it does.
Oh, it's a big
we've
grind.
seen so many
Yeah.
fatigue games and stuff. In the earlier games, we did see some different variations on the cards and stuff, and I mean, Baron Geddon was not seen in either of the earlier Warrior decks, and it's seen in both of these. So do you think it's more of a stylistic choice, or do you think it is coming back a lot? Because I mean, I hadn't seen Baron Geddon honestly for a long time, and then it started GVG. I've been seeing it a fair bit more in the deck. So do you think it's something that really is kind of fitting in more to the meta now, or do you think this is more just like a personal stylistic thing?
It's more telling of what they expect to see in these matchups. I think it's a card that's pretty excellent against Zoo.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's very good against Shaman, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen a very successful Shaman build really be used. So when it's in here, I expect it to be mostly for the idea that you're going to have to fight Zoo decks at some point,
Yeah.
and that's one of the best tools that you have.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I play a lot of Shaman, and I kind of just felt like Shaman is just like a weaker version of the Mech Mage and stuff. Like it hasn't really felt like extremely strong when I've played it, but still moving forward here. It may just simply be. I mean, do you think you just Harrison here, take the draw?
When are you going to find a better turn for this
Yeah,
Harrison?
that's what I think. Like I just don't see like. I mean, it's not like the most inspiring play, but there's not really anything that's too awe-inspiring going on right now.
I mean, if he used execute that early, it's pretty much still in line with that gameplay
Yeah.
where he's trying to recover the state. of the game and try to find a way to get an advantage from what's going
Harrison
on.
could draw him into it, like a War Axe or something like that as well. That could help clean that up. He's going to shield block first, potentially, thinking maybe if I draw a Death Spite, then I can still use it, something like that. It does allow him to have the extra mana to kind of have those additional options. Shield Slam something as well, but not going to think he's going to want to use that. So interesting that he just doesn't want to use the Harrison. Though. I mean,
creating board tension here, though. I mean, that's a fine play as well. He's looking for more value out of that Harrison than just one card draw.
Yeah. The question is, do you think he's actually going to find that?
This game, it doesn't look like he's going to.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
Obviously, this is a big game of patience at the moment, so he's got to make the best use of his cards that he can. This is a turn, by the way, where Alexstrasza, there just really isn't another play. Like, if you're not going to Alexstrasza this turn, it's almost like, why is it in your deck?
Yeah.
Like, this is a perfect spot to do it. He's got everything in his hand that he wants to follow this up. He's got Ragnaros, he's got Grommash. Like, this is the turn to play Alexstrasza and now force the issue on your opponent. They have to be able to deal with it, or the game snowballs out of control.
I mean, he has BGH, Harrison, Armor Up. He has a lot of ways he can deal with this. He can Cruel Task, Execute. But I just feel like when you have the BGH, why not answer with that first?
It's a matter of not wanting to put too much on the board.
There's Shield Slam as well, I guess. You can.
If he's thinking about Barongeddon 2, his board's going to get cleared out by Barongeddon.
That's true. I mean, he has 3 ways to answer this. There's a lot of ways to answer this, actually. 3 very easy
he's looking at his hand and he's thinking the exact same thing too. Like, do I want to play Alexstrasza here?
Yeah.
And again, StrifeCro's created so much board tension throughout the course of this match. It wouldn't surprise me to see an Alexstrasza.
Yeah, could just Alexstrasza Shield Slam. I mean, like I said, he has obviously Execute, he has Shield Slam, and he has Big Game Hunter. So 3 separate ways to answer this.
Yep.
He's got to answer it in some way. So it's looking like it is going to be the BGH. And to me, that says he's probably going to Harrison. I'd be surprised if he didn't. No, just going to side Armor Up. So still holding on to it.
Yeah.
Really surprised by that. Like,
he wants to kill a big weapon. That's just really the end of the story. He actually might get a chance to do it here because I can see this Fiery War Axe easily getting developed.
Yeah, so it may pay off here. Barongeddon getting a lot of value out though. Gonna be able to take down 2 minions and pose a pretty nice threat.
Really a lot of patience exercised by both of these players so far. And now a tough spot. Like, do you want to Shield Slam this 7/5?
Yeah, I don't know. Not really, but you can't also, I don't think you can just let it sit there. I mean, there is the more like risky plays. You can obviously like you can potentially even like drop a rag or something, but I don't think that's really what you want to do. He's thinking about Alexstrasza plus Shield Slam as well, and it looks like that's what he's going to go with. It's going to be the Alexstrasza Shield Slam.
Big presence on the board. 15 damage out of the Alexstrasza so far.
Big Game Hunter.
That's a Big Game Hunter to return it though.
There's also Whirlwind Execute. I mean, there's a lot of answers.
I imagine this has got to be a Sylvanas turn.
Yeah, I think so. I guess it's possible he's a little bit nervous of it just getting cleaned up without anything to steal, so he may want to steal it.
That doesn't feel like that big of a problem when you have the Ragnaros in your hand, though.
I agree, but I think that's what he's considering at this point, considering just armoring up instead. He may want to just secure his position with that, but
yeah,
I like Sylvanas. Yeah, I mean, it's like even if it's dealt with, it really kind of makes it a pretty slow turn for your
Again,
opponent.
it's opening up you up to be able to stick in a Ragnaros to the board too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, this turn looks really tough for StrifeCro.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of got to get rid of that Sylvanas before he can do anything. So, I mean, he can obviously just like kind of bop this and then he can deal with it next turn. But actually, okay, so he's going to have the Shield Maiden down to just answer it. Clean 1-for-1 trade. He's hoping. Now, I mean, I feel like Rag is such a good play here. Because if the Rag takes out the Shield Maiden, how's he going to answer this?
Yeah,
you know?
this
you
is
just go face and you just drop Rag, I think.
My gosh.
Yeah, I really like Rag here. I think
This Ragnaros hit is so important too.
If he takes up the Shield Maiden, it could just simply be game.
Oh my gosh. 50,
man.
50. Again, if he takes out the Shield Maiden, it's so huge. Oh, wow, goes straight to the dome though.
Yeah.
So Shield Slam no longer activated. Wow, he picks it up as I'm saying the Shield Slam no longer active. But, I mean, this is a big swing turn. Now, the question here is,
Do you Rag?
does he want to take the risk or does he want to use the Execute?
I don't know, man. Although it's obviously really risky, you also have to consider like how far does he feel behind? You know, does he feel like there's points in time where it's like you have to kind of take one of those risks because you're feeling like, like, oh god, how else am I going to win this? I don't know if he's quite at that point yet because the armor totals and everything are pretty similar. He has his Grommash in hand and everything. I mean, he's definitely going to trade into Shield Maiden. The question is just like, what is he going to do after that?
What now?
I think the chances of Rag though are pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's either Rag or his face.
I mean, it's Rag. I think it's potentially Rag, but he could also obviously just trade it in and kind of Cruel Task XQ.
I mean, if it goes, here's the thing too: is if the Ragnaros misses, he's got to be worried about Grommash.
Yeah, of course.
But then if he uses Execute, he doesn't have a direct answer to Grommash anymore.
No, it's going to be the Cruel Task XQ. Just doesn't feel comfortable to take the risk right now. Just allow him to armor up a little bit more. This Harrison is just kind of sitting in his hand as a dead card, though, and it's like, really would have liked to see it come out earlier.
Wow, Neirea's just going to go for it.
Oh, man.
Out of options to apply pressure, and he feels like he has to start making a move right now to end this game. And StrifeCro actually doesn't have a way to kill this Grommash other
Rag and Pray, man. It's got to be the Rag and Pray.
Gosh.
He's got to kill off this 2-2, and he's just got to pray to RNGesus that he can kill off the Grommash, man.
This is such an awful spot for StrifeCro to be in. This is not where he wanted to be right now.
Yeah. But there's no other play.
I was hoping for that earlier Rag play there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think he has to.
He's got to go for it. I mean, there's just no other option here.
Yeah, all right, so he's going to do it. This will be the question, I guess, is if he wants to keep his 2-2 alive. Yeah. Do you think he bobs it with the weapon? Or
Well, if you hit it with the weapon, you're risking dying to Gorehowl. And so if you held the Harrison for Gorehowl, you no longer are going to get that opportunity. So I think you traded the 2-2.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the safer play. Man, he's just so hesitant to do it, but he knows there's nothing else to do, but he's just like praying some other option will magically appear. And it's all going to come down to this, and it's all going to come down to this 50-50.
One rag shot. We see it happen so often. Is StrifeCro going to be able to get this rag shot here? If not, he loses the game.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Game 5 going to be forced here from Neirea. Wow, what a risky play he had to take with that Grommash, but he had seen so much removal.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, that's the play to make, and then StrifeCro, of course, back in the corner, having to rely on Ragnaros to try to get things done. And, wow, it just didn't work out for him.
I really felt like he should have Harrisoned earlier. I felt like it's like, yeah, you talked about he's waiting for for a better weapon to take out, but it's so common for that card to just sit as a dead card in your hand if you don't just play it when you can play it. And I feel like not taking the opportunity to do that could have actually changed some things.
I'm right there with you. I would have played Harrison Jones straight away.
Yeah.
Picked up a card draw, got rid of a charge, a weapon.
And have a body down there.
And have the 5-4 body. The 5-4 body is really the important part of that game because Harrison was just stuck in his hand and it didn't get a chance to do anything.
Either way, this is the one for all the marbles. So, to finish things off, it's going to be Handlock or StrifeCro.
Oh, gosh. Back to another corner that I think he doesn't want to be in as well because he queued Warrior into Handlock earlier.
Yep.
And he's seen an almost mirrored build of what he was playing on Neirea's side of the board. So if he thought that Warrior had an advantage versus Handlock, he's got to believe he's at an actual disadvantage in this one.
For sure. I mean, StrifeCro potentially, the King 1 winner could be going out, second player out of the tournament.
Dark Bomb, Mountain Giant, and a couple tossers. So he's got to turn 4 Mountain Giant here. So obviously he wants to avoid Big Game Hunter, and he doesn't want Shield Block, Shield Slam, or Cool Taskmaster Execute to be the case for his opponent. That's a lot of things that you have to fade, though.
Mm-hmm.
Second Mountain Giant, though.
That's definitely making things a little bit more appealing. Cool Task Execute there, though. Whirlwind Execute there, though. Fiery War Axe there. I mean, Shield Slam there. He has, feels like a lot of answers. Pretty darn good hand, though, for StrifeCro, I have to say.
Yep. Harrison's certainly not what he wants to see.
Nope.
Maybe put in the hands of Jiraxis in a museum later on, but he's got a long way to
get
fight
there
for
first,
that.
man, yeah.
2 Mountain Giants he's going to have to fight through here.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to have the easy answer to the first one. And we'll see if he's going to be able to have a clean answer to the next one.
Let me ask you this. Does it make a lot of sense here to use Shield Slam and then to use
the Death Fight?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty reasonable, but it's also he's going to have that available for the second one, which is pretty nice.
And if he chooses to whirl and execute, I'm curious why he's not just armoring up instead of playing the Armor Smith here.
Yeah, or playing the Armor Smith first. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's...
It feels like that would have been an armor up turn to me, because then you have a second Mountain Giant directly in check.
Yeah, I agree. That's a bit of a strange choice.
You know, it's that same thing though. He can't just go backwards. You know, I was saying Shield Slam and then coin Death Spite. He can just do that next turn without having to use the coin also.
Yep. Well, it is going to be Mountain Giant coming down once again here. We'll see what the draw is. Neirea can answer, and I mean he can Shield Slam Death Spite.
Yeah, this is like to me, it's a very clear Shield Slam Death Spite turn. You just picked up Acolyte. You have a Cruel Taskmaster in your hand for it. This is a lot of potential card draws, and you've already killed both Mountain Giants. You have to feel comfortable with your life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not like he's going to be putting himself to a danger total. He'd be at 26, or not even, because he'd armor. 26. Yeah. So definitely the play, and he's going to go for it. I don't think there was really any other play to make.
Well, there's plenty of other plays you could have made. There's just some of them aren't very. You could have jammed down Harrison. Harrison would have been. You get a 5/4 body on the board. We were just talking about the importance of having that body on the board.
Is that the play you would have gone for, Admirable?
Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
50-50 maybe?
Flip a coin to the side.
Yeah. That's how I play Hearthstone.
Someone just goes on like a big losing streak, and they're like, "I'm just going to roll dice to make all my decisions from now on."
Have you seen that Twitter account, the Esports Seinfeld or whatever?
That's exactly what I was referring to.
Exactly, the Kramer one. Yeah, that was freaking hilarious. Man.
Kramer rolls dice to make all his decisions and finds himself in the finals of a tournament.
Yeah, amazing.
That's like exactly what happened to him too. Yeah. There's Jiraxis.
Actually, like. You're talking about how it's a bad matchup and stuff for the Handlocker, or it definitely can be. But looking at the hands, I actually don't feel too scared for StrifeCro right now.
Really? I feel like he's very far behind.
You think so?
Yeah. Maybe it's just me personally, but I mean, he's about to pick up 2 extra card draws here.
Yeah.
Is there a need to play that Sunfury Protector knowing that the Ancient Watcher was just going to die?
Well, he doesn't really know that it's just going to die, right?
I think he wants to get the charge out of the Death Spite and hope his opponent doesn't have Acolyte that turn. And just his opponent had Acolyte this turn, so
yeah, he gets the
where do you go forward? I imagine this is going to be coin Fiery Warax too, but
yeah, that was a very nice turn for him.
Looks like he's got some other plans in mind though.
The other thing is, it's like, if you're playing your Sludge Belcher in, obviously, like you talked about the damage, worried about the damage to make it kind of a bit of an easier clear and everything like that. Could be something he's thinking about, but yeah, it looks like he's going to decide to actually go with that silence.
He's going to use the owl here.
Actually, I don't mind that. I mean, I
he's
know you're not
foregoing a life that too, so he's denying his opponent a card, but he's not gaining one either.
Ooh, really going to take out the Armor Smith? Okay. I feel like that versus worried about the damage from Taskmaster. I mean, I guess it's just maybe worried about some sort of like a whirlwind or something. Like, I don't know.
I mean, it looks to me like he's going to
go with Task. Okay, yeah. I mean, he's bouncing over that for a while. I like this a lot more.
He's giving up extra armor this way, but how much is that really worth at the end of the day? Again, you're not trying to fight. You're not trying to kill your opponent as quickly as possible in this matchup. You're looking to stabilize them at some point.
So I think this is definitely the right one. Brawl coming out here. Okay. Very likely just going to decide to trade in those minions, get the armor from the second Armor Smith, and be able to clear up at least the first portion of the Sludge Belcher.
A lot of armor getting picked up here for Neirea, and that's definitely a big difference that can be made.
Yeah, when you have double Armor Smith down, it gets pretty insane.
You got the coin in his hand still, too. That's not really not actually a card. I mean, he's got 5 cards in his hand, but one of them is the coin, so he's basically got 4 cards in his hand at this point.
And I mean, denying that one draw, like with that in mind, is kind of somewhat more impactful. But we'll have to see what he's going to decide to go with here. There's a lot of ways to answer this. I mean, he could... I wouldn't be too surprised to see one of the Dark Bombs come down, keep that taunt up. Sylvanas, pretty nice.
I think Sylvanas is looking pretty good here.
Yeah. Do you think you just ignore that then and just go face? Drop Sylvanas, go face?
I think it's totally fine.
Yeah. I think that's pretty reasonable. I could definitely see the other line of thought as well, but I'll have to see what he decides to go with.
A lot of it depends on what he thinks his opponent's going to do too.
Yeah.
So when you play Sylvanas, you do deny a lot of your opponent's ability to play big, strong... Like, he doesn't want to play Alex Straza. He doesn't want to rag into it. He doesn't want to... You're trying to choke out their options at this point. And that was consistent with the fact that you've owled an Acolyte Pain to deny a card draw. So if you play Sylvanas here, you're kind of going along that same game plan. You're trying to choke out all the different scenarios that your opponent can play.
Yep. And it's looking like that is going to be the decision that he has come to. Really taking his time on this one, though. Wants to make sure. I mean, these are the turns that matter so much. I mean,
Yes.
these are the turns where there are so many options,
I have
actually.
no time for games.
And it's sort of, it kind of feels weird to say that because his real options are like Sludge Belcher or Sylvanas, but each one of them takes drastically different lines of play.
And like you talked about, it gives drastically different lines of play
Yes.
for your opponent.
And what that means for, like, yeah, that's how the game unfolds afterwards. So it is only two different actual decisions to make, but he's evaluating the way that the game pans out afterwards. That's
Well, and it's also it's not just thinking about that turn though. It's thinking about your next 3 turns, your
Yes.
next 4 turns, how you're going to play it out, and how different you'll have to play it out based on those.
Picks up a Ragnaros of his own.
I was not expecting to see
Wow, I
Ragnaros
did
in this.
not realize this was in the list, and this could really change the way this game is going to
No
play out.
kidding. And I mean, I'm starting to like his spot more and more, man.
Okay, this makes a lot more sense for why he silenced that Acolyte now, because he knows that he's got this high draw density in his deck. You know, he had Sylvanas that was picked up, he has Ragnaros that were picked up. He's still got copies of Molten Giants in his deck. He's
Still
got
has
Twilight
his
Drake still in
Jiraxxus.
there. He's trying to actually end this game before it gets to a point where Jiraxxus is a necessity. And in the meantime, if his opponent doesn't pick up something like an Execute or another Shield Slam, and he gets a ton of value from one of these big minions, at the point where his opponent's got to expend everything to deal with those, he can follow up with Jiraxxus and apply a lot of pressure. This is actually...
Ooh, he's actually thinking about Jiraxxus this turn.
Wow! Oh my
man.
gosh!
Oh, that's so aggressive. I think he's going to go for it. I can respect this, man. I can.
Well, by playing Lord Draxus, he actually takes out Acolyte this turn without him getting
Yeah.
extra cards off of it.
Maybe when
He's got to do something because the animation on Jiraxxus is really long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be a Dark Bomb. All right, so it's probably just going to be, the Sludge Belcher coming down here.
Yeah, so denying an extra piece of armor first.
Yep, Sludge Belcher. Is he going to tap? Yeah, I think.
If he's going to play Jiraxxus last turn, he definitely taps this
tap.
turn.
Yeah. Okay, I wasn't sure if he got it off in time there because the rope expired. I was like, oh god.
Spectator Client keeps you
Keeps
on the
you.
edge of your
Yeah,
seat.
it does, man. Literally. All right.
God, if he were
Brawl.
Jiraxxus,
Oh
that
god.
Harrison would
If
have
the Sylvanas wins the brawl,
Oh, it's like, it's really not that bad
Oh, no.
because he's still got the Execute there, but it's like, you definitely don't want the Sylvanas to win
Yeah,
the
yeah,
brawl, I
yeah.
don't think. You don't want to have to.
you don't want to have to use Execute, especially, I mean, we still have to worry about Wolf Giants, and he doesn't know he has to worry about Ragnaros, but he does.
It's got to be Sludge Belcher here, right?
Yeah, I think I like Coin Belcher
Are
a
you
lot.
getting a better turn out of Coin than this?
No.
Yeah, there's just no way.
He just like coins and just puts on his weapon anyway. He's just like,
Oh, I won't get a better turn out of Coin.
yeah.
Well, I might as well just waste it then.
Yeah. I'll show you.
I think Mortal Coil on his own Iron Beak Owl here is not an unreasonable play. Just to pick up some extra cards and see what's going. Man, you know what? If he had that Jiraxxus out, he'd be in really good shape right now.
Yeah. I mean, he could still play the Draxus, man. He could
You know,
still
that's
just
also-
Draxus. He could just Draxus weapon here.
When I
but
say
like
the
Twilight
Jiraxxus
Drake.
thing, I'm not taking into account the fact that Harrison Jones is
Yeah.
in
Oh,
yeah, of
StrifeCro's hand
course,
right
yeah.
now. So, from his perspective, he would have been in good shape.
Yeah.
But, there is the fact that Harrison Jones is in the other deck. It's something he has to consider.
I like the Drake anyway. I think it's like it's such a sticky body, and it's not something that you really want to execute, right? It's like
He's trying to get into the Molten Giant turns, too.
yeah, exactly. And it's like if you do execute that, then you know you're risking the Molten Giants, especially with your HP sitting this low. And he's trying to decide, do I want to Argus up here? When am I worried? Because it could be, Gromosh Whirlwind could be in his hand, and that would work. And does he still have a second Taskmaster? Because Taskmaster Gromosh plus the Sludge Belcher would be lethal, so he could actually be thinking about that.
Well, you'd have to have the Execute, too.
Yeah, well, I'm saying if he didn't taunt. That's why he's thinking about
I
taunting.
think, he's definitely. I think taunting here is just better. I mean, you have a taunt in your hand.
No, I agree. Yeah.
You need the extra power on the board.
All right, so
I
looking like
have
it's
no
gonna be
time for
Sylvanas
games.
armor up.
We're going to draw that Sylvanas was.
Yeah, no kidding. Because I mean, a very good chance of actually getting that Drake. So I'm getting something pretty good here.
Second Twilight Drake. Gosh, this is what he wants an owl for, too, though.
Yep.
This is exactly the scenario that we were
That's what
talking
you were
about,
talking about, yeah.
where it's like a nightmare to have to face down Sylvanas at this point.
Definitely is. But I mean, at least, you have some other options. Like you can play some other minions here. It's like you can take out the Belcher. You can put down your Earthring Farseer, something like that. Then at least it's a lower chance of your Drake being stolen. But if your Drake does get stolen at this point, it's pretty devastating. I mean, you still do have a Soul Siphon in hand. There's a lot of different ways he can go. It just depends how risky he wants to play it, like how scared he is of that steal. I mean, you can Twilight Drake, you can Earthring Farseer.
Do you want to play the Twilight Drake after the Earthring Farseer to help weaken the steal?
I don't know.
There's so many different ways to play
Yeah,
this
exactly.
I think at this point, this is like...
You really don't want the taunt to be stolen.
It's one of these spots where you're like, I cannot do anything about Sylvanas, so I kind of have to ignore it and evaluate once it's happened.
How about if he hit the sludge there and say Shadow Flame to get rid of everything? Before, of course, he would have played the Twilight.
Wow, he picks up Iron Beak off the life tap. That is exactly what he needed.
This could just be a game-winning top deck, man. That is actually insane.
Unbelievable timing.
And to actually tap there instead of dropping the Earthing Ring, I think so many people would have just gone for the Earthing Ring for the higher chance, for stealing a bad card. But that is actually crazy, man.
Look at this board position.
That's so good now. And I mean, still, look at the cards in his hand. He still has Molten Giant, he still has Ragnaros, he still has his Jiraxis.
Dr. Boom, I don't know if this is going to be enough. Just StrifeCro's got so much. He's fought back.
Again, just get extremely aggressive.
He lost both of his Mountain Giants on turn 4 and 5.
The Brawl is already gone. Well, I mean, I think you just go face, man. Start getting work done here. I mean, do you think you Soul Siphon this? Do you Soul Siphon that and just go face?
I think you drop
Molten Giant, Soul Face, go face. Yeah. Ooh.
Gotta find different ways to expend these resources though. So this is going to be Dark Bomb instead.
Yeah, Dark Bomb.
Wants to evaluate after this Mortal Coil's happened too.
Okay. I can respect that. He wants to see where it's going to land.
Except a second Siphon Soul.
Oh no. That's not what he wanted. But regardless, not the end of the world. Still has his Dark Bomb. Or no, he doesn't. Yeah, he does. Okay.
More to the face. So now he's got to be worried about Execute and Whirlwind and Grommash.
Mm-hmm.
So this might be a spot where he chooses to Earth and make Farseer himself. Almost certainly will be.
Yep. Such a tense game. I mean, coming down to game 5 and it's like...
I mean, I thought StrifeCro had certainly fallen way far behind this game. It's just the life taps have added up to so much.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely was at that point that you were talking about, but it's just like he had so many good cards in his hand. He had like so much quality in his hand. He has this whole game. It just hasn't really felt like he's had a bad turn to me. And I mean, now looking at his hand, he has 2 Soul Siphons. He still has this Big Game Hunter. He still has a Ragnaros, a Jiraxis, a Dr. Boom. Like every card is so darn good. It's really tough to deal with. And I mean, it's probably going to be just to execute Big Game Hunter, but it's just not like. I mean, it's not bad, but it's just kind of looking pretty rough.
Oh my gosh. This game has been so crazy right now. StrifeCro, even after he's been disrupted turn after turn, still has more to move forward with.
Yeah. The question is still just, you have to be worried about the Grommash, right? So it's like...
There's 2 cards in his opponent's hand, so the only combination that really kills him is Grommash and Cruel Taskmaster.
So, I mean, I feel like it could very easily just be, killing this off and dropping Jiraxis. Because, I mean, it's like...
He could Dr. Boom here, too.
He definitely could, but it's like, are you scared of then just dying? That's the problem.
Is he going to Siphon Soul this and just drop Big Game Hunter? Like, maybe he doesn't need the extra... Because he's got so much removal in his hand right now, maybe he just doesn't need the Big Game Hunter to be able to finish this.
It's definitely possible, but, knowing the player that StrifeCro is, he's definitely always wants to, like you said, kind of like scrap it out and everything, and he's definitely thinking about it. So it could just be that. It could just be the Big Game Hunter Siphon Soul. I wonder if it'll come back to bite him with Ragnaros potentially coming out. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter with the second Siphon Soul.
Wow, playing around the potential for Grommash and Cruel Taskmaster.
I think you had to at this point. You're thinking about how do you lose this game?
Oh gosh, Alex Straza, just an 8/8 here. Actually gains your opponent a point of health. Pretty happy to play though because he just saw Big Game Hunter get dropped. Antique Healbot gets drawn.
Oh man. Another Soul Siphon still available, but still, the Big Game Hunter could come back to bite him a bit because it's like he did just Soul Siphon a small minion. He dropped his Big Game Hunter just for the board presence, and it's like he has another Soul Siphon here, but he still knows that there can be Ragnaros, there can still be the Grommash. There's still a lot of potential threats. It's got to be the Soul Siphon.
So much has to be accounted for too. Yeah, I mean this is the plan you commit to. Yeah.
He's going to decide to tap. Nope, not going to tap.
Shield Sun's no good. But Ragnaros is. StrifeCro doesn't have a direct way to answer this. He has his own Ragnaros. This hit potentially really important. StrifeCro for certain does not want this to hit his face right now. And that's exactly what it does. And so now Grommash back to being a worry for
Okay,
StrifeCro.
well, he can Ancient Watcher, Shadow Flame, trade in the Big Game Hunter. And then he can't heal bot, though, if he does that. But I don't know if you can risk the Ragnaros.
Oh my gosh. He's going to try to find a way to play around Grommash again this turn, but I think he's going to get some bad news.
I don't think they're, yeah, I mean,
What
it's
do you
like,
think the best thing you could do to come back here is?
well, how about this? Okay, you actually can. You can trade in both Hellfire, Ancient Healbot.
He pictured to 15, 16?
Yeah.
So no,
So you
7 to 15, yeah.
you'd still be okay. So I mean,
Gosh,
but
you
that's
lose so
kind of a
much,
gross
yeah.
turn.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it's like the other way you can do it is you can do Big Game Hunter, Ancient Watcher, Shadow Flame.
Wow.
Is
That's
he
exactly what he's
it
going to
might
do.
be that, but then you can't heal and
Yep.
you can't do anything else, and then you're no.
It just feels
he's
like
Hellfiring, so he's gonna do the Hellfire
it just
Healbot.
feels
Yeah.
like bad news. Like this feels like bad news when you just sacrificed your entire board.
I know it's not nice, but it's the only play he had that says I don't die this turn for
Yep.
sure, and I think that's why he's going for it. And you have to respect that.
He's picked up so much health back on Neirea's end. And StrifeCro again in the exact same position. He's almost out of cards. He's still worried about Grommash this turn.
Yeah.
This might be a 50-50 turn.
This might be a Ragnarok's turn, yeah.
Even though losing his board last turn, I mean, Warrior only has 2 cards in his hand. Could you be? I mean, you are worried about that combo, of course, the Grommash, but I mean, not a bad position to lose your board in.
I guess, but at the same time, it's like we're so deep in the deck.
Yeah.
The chances of him having that combo are extremely high. So
Not
it's
only
like,
that,
Very
but just
true.
he's got to find a way to actually end the game
Yeah,
too. He
of
can't
course.
keep expending resources,
and
killing
he
minions
is
the entire time.
he's on his
True.
fatigues. He's
Yeah.
on his fatigues very soon here. So it's like, you know, the thing is, Drax is extremely strong at that point in the game, but you have to be worried. And it's like, I actually don't think that Ragnaros here is bad. I feel like it's almost just, you just like Ragnaros and Ancient Watcher just to perhaps have that available for a Shadow Flame or something next turn if you need it or whatever. Because it's like, what else are you going to do? Like you're saying, you have to play for the win.
Yep. His game plan has been consistent with not dying to Grommash the entire time. He's going to roll with Ragnaros, and he wants it to hit this Shield Maiden. But even if it does, that means Neirea is going to have access to Shield Slam potentially. It's the Shield Maiden.
He does get it. That is huge.
Neirea is Sludge Belcher's not the draw he needed for this right now.
And I mean, he can't take out the Ragnaros even if he blows his Shield Slam. So it's just
He needed another piece of.
it's gross, man.
He needed another way to generate armor
What's the
there.
last card? The
StrifeCro
second Shadow
completely
Flame.
out of cards now, but he's got 5 in his hand left to work with.
Yeah. And some very key cards. Oh man, this is tough.
Not to mention, even though he is out of cards and it'll start affecting his health, he can load Draxus later to get that health back.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's always got to be worried. You know, he's always got to be worried about his HP
Grommash.
with the Grommash. And these are the cards he has to win the game. There's nothing else, you know. So he's got to fit the pieces together. He's got to be thinking, okay, what other cards am I still worried about? We have to remember, you know, the Harrison is still there, you know, for that. But it could also, Harrison could actually fatigue him too, right? Like, so you know, these are all things that he's got to be considering when he's looking through his options here. And Dr. Boom, you know, pretty solid play. But if you're going to Dr. Boom, you're not attacking with the Ancient Healbot, and you're just kind of hoping, I guess, that you hit a minion once again.
I don't know, maybe he wants Ragnaros to keep going to the face now because Shield Slam's going to be available next turn. He
Oh,
shreds
that's
the armor
true.
with Ragnaros.
Yeah, that is very true.
Shield block gets picked up.
But still, it's not enough. I mean,
He's
he'll have to trade in
facing
his
down
minion.
so much pressure because of Dr. Boom now.
Oh, Shield Maiden.
It's a Shield Maiden,
Very nice.
but still a spot where maybe he doesn't feel comfortable playing in.
Yeah.
He's got to go for face here too now. He's got to get the damage rolling. StrifeCro's in fatigue. Man, he's got access to Molten Giant and Jiraxis this turn.
Now, do you just Shadow Flame your Ancient Watcher here and then throw a bomb in to clean that up? I feel like you should just Shadow Flame your Ancient Watcher. You're not going to get a better turn. You're up against the wall here. You can't afford to slow play it anymore. You're in fatigue. I feel like it has to be a Shadow Flame.
At this point, he's not as worried about Grommash because there's only one card
Yeah.
in hand.
Yeah.
So he knows that if his opponent's going to
He
draw,
doesn't have the activator.
yeah, he's got to draw a way to actually activate it afterwards.
Yeah. So to me, this is the Shadow Flame. But at the same
I think
time,
you use the Boombot first to figure out if you should Shadow Flame right now or not.
But the problem is then if you boombot and the boombot hits the sludge again, then you're wasting some damage, right? Because if you Shadow Flame and then you hit the boombot into the sludge, then it actually kills that, and then it doesn't have that as a potential target anymore. So I think it's actually better to Shadow Flame first. Yeah, this is better.
Gosh, this is such a
Because if it hit the same one, it would have been okay. That's perfect. So now you can trade it out as well. So it works out very well for him. Going to be able to go face here, and this is looking pretty bad.
Wow, what a turnaround from StrifeCro. Neirea probably needs like a second brawl or something. Cruel Taskmaster's not going to be it.
That's not going to do it. And what a crazy game to end on.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, the sequencing actually was pretty important there, because had he traded into bomb first and it hit the same target, then he wouldn't have actually been able to clear everything up without having to use his ancient
Death
heal
Rattle
block.
Order actually being really important.
Yep, for sure. I choose death, says Neirea, and that is going to be that. StrifeCro going to be able to take it 3-2 over Neirea. He's going to be moving on. And what a crazy series that was, man.
Very crazy
So
series.
many sick games, right down to the wire.
What do you think could have been done differently there?
Well, there's a lot of things that could have been done differently throughout pretty much every step of the game. StrifeCro had a lot of options for how to sequence things and chose to be a lot more aggressive than I think most people would have been. He used a big game hunter in a spot just to develop his board position, not to actually get much more value out of it, other than the fact that it can attack for a bunch of damage.
I really respect the way that StrifeCro played that, like playing around the Grommush and the Activator. You know, he was playing very aggressive, like you said, but he also wasn't being like wildly aggressive. He was taking into consideration what his opponent's win conditions were, and every turn that he could play around that, he did.
And Neirea, I feel like he's, you know, everything you see of him, he's kind of getting the shorter end of the stick. People are not really seeing kind of the justice and how well this guy's played. Yeah. He's just been in such close and difficult matches over and over again.
All right. Just a few words from our sponsor, and then we'll be back for the game for Backspace versus Elefante.